Tonight on Joy News Prime, as religious bodies prepare to welcome worshippers following the easing of COVID-19 restrictions on social gatherings, some churches are worried government is making it too difficult for them to comply with the protocols.
Normal times, and because they are not normal times, I think it is just prudent that we allow some time to pass and see how best we can ease ourselves or our way back into service.
We came to meet church, and church will be there for us. Let's take our time. Let's read the system. Let's study how we're going to make things right. And at the end of the day, we'll all have victory.
Despite the lamentations, some are doing their best to adjust to the new normal.
There'll be 100 chairs in the room.
There'll be 100 chairs?
Yeah.
So if you come and you don't get a chair?
Then you join the next service also, because there'll be multiple services. But the chairs in the room will be 100. We will not flout the rule. The church in the room will be 100.
There are others yet who are deciding to postpone the reopening of their churches altogether. The Education Minister has also been speaking about plans to see final year students return to school this month for about 3 months.
The Ministry of Health, through the Ghana Health Service, has collaborated extensively with the Ministry of Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Information to come up with a program of sensitizing school leaders to ensure that these hygiene and sanitation and social distancing protocols are maintained in our educational facilities.
But the minority says the duration will put them at great risk.
The longer they stay there, the more the danger of having to infest others with the disease.
PNC Chairman Bernard Mona says he's unperturbed by the charges leveled against him after his interrogation at the police CID.
The Electoral Commission of Ghana must know that their actions have the potential to plunge this nation into calamity. We are cautioning them that if they do not heed to us and anything happens to this country, they will not be safe. It is important that the police, some of who are here, who are desiring for change, that they must wake up to the reality that anything that the Electoral Commission does that plunges this nation into calamity, there the police will also be affected.
And in business,
poultry farmers out of business as eggs go waste following a glut.
It's not about how to even survive, but how to look at the next day for production. We have been in the industry for over 20 years, but never has it ever happened.
And the Electoral Commission has begun the piloting of the upcoming nationwide registration exercise.
So we have invited the political parties, the staff, and then the people in the community to come and then participate and then observe. So they'll go through the various processes. Yes, the forms will be completed. After the forms, then it will be keyed onto the kit, that's the registration system or the machine, and then we will print out the ID card.
I'm Mr. Eli anchoring Joy News Prime live on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air.
And my name is Aisha Ibrahim, coming to you live from Makokomlemle Studios on digital address 0992539, also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144.
Churches across the country are gearing up to reopen their temples this Sunday. But in keeping with COVID-19 protocols, it appears many age-old traditions and practices, including handshakes, fraternal hugs, and waving of handkerchiefs, will now have to be done away with. The serving of communion and collection of offertory is also bound to undergo some radical transformation. Matilda Gavi has more in the following report.
The last time church members gathered here for a service was on March 15th. On Sunday, church members are expected to return, but under very strict protocols. For a church like Victory Bible International, Sunday service will be held in multiple sessions. The children's service has been suspended for now. The aged and people with underlying health conditions are encouraged to stay home for the virtual service. Senior Associate Bishop and resident pastor for the Prophetic Sanctuary branch in Kokomlimli, Bishop Emmanuel Akon, says there will be strict adherence to safety protocols.
When you come to church, try not to fall down, because when you fall, nobody will lift you up, So we've been talking that children's service will have to wait, because children cannot social distance. So, and even the choristers, even the microphones and all that. When you come, make sure you don't touch anything, not even peelers. We believe that you sanitize before you got in, but for everybody to be sure, no touching. You come, whatever duration we have, we get it done and we leave. So I think for Victory Bible Church, if you ask me, we are ready. We have big churches and we have small churches. This information is being run down, and we are doing our best that all our churches comply. We know that for the first Sunday, some will be a little bit hesitant in coming. So we want to see how Sunday goes. Believe that maybe we could do 3 services and see how it goes. If it turns 4, we'll be fine. Some parents too may not come because we are asking them not to come with their children. So that means that obviously some of the numbers will be dropping. Because if you are 2, one should stay home. If you want to come with your child, then you make sure that child is going to sit on you. Max, sit on you throughout the service, and when you close, you walk out to the person.
Multiple services are expected to be held from Sunday to make up for the 100 congregants quota.
There'll be 100 chairs in the room.
There'll be 100 chairs?
Yeah.
So if you come and you don't get a chair?
Then you join the next service also.
Okay.
Because there'll be multiple services.
Okay.
But the chairs in the room will be 100.
Okay.
We will not flout the rule. The church in the room will be 100. So if you come and you are more than 100, it means that you are even late. You go to the next slide.
Other churches like the Methodist, Presby, Roman Catholic and the Anglican churches have their leaders locked up in a series of meetings to determine the way forward. Joy News is, however, learning that there will be major changes to services like the exchange of peace, which is characterized by handshakes and hugs. The sharing of common cups during communion services will also be reviewed. Sitting in packed pews and passing of offertory bags during service will also be reviewed. Meanwhile, some churches have announced they would keep the auditoriums closed for now. One of such is the Spirit-Filled Revival Ministries, headed by Bernard L. Bernard Nelson Ishen. A statement to church members indicated leadership prefers to have a more secure worship environment for the safety of their members. General Overseer of Maker's House Chapel, Dr. Bwedi Nyamiche, has also been explaining why he's taken a similar decision for his church.
I am of the firm opinion that in as much as we will want to make sure our people come together and congregate and we fellowship and all of that. Like we always say, these are not normal times. And because they are not normal times, I think it is just prudent that we allow some time to pass and see how best we can ease ourselves or our way back into service. But for now, I still think, looking at, again, the kind of things, the logistical challenge, I'm not even thinking about the adults only. How about the kids? Somebody who comes to church with their infants and all of them. And looking at that, I think we are better off asking them to, follow us online, follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on TV. Follow us and watch the services live. And I think that the gospel will be preached.
Head pastor of Destiny Empowerment Chapel, Dr. Bernard Taylor, has also been given further details.
We came to meet church, and church will be there for us. Let's take our time. Let's read the system. Let's study how we're going to make things right. And at the end of the day, we'll all have victory. People that we meet and encounter, I stated in my press release that there are many people that comes to our churches from varied and variegated backgrounds. We never can tell what someone picked up on the road. and we cannot compromise the life of our little ones.
The Perez Chapel International has also issued a statement to its members and the general public saying that the Perez Dome Jolu will remain closed for church services until further notice. The International Central Gospel Church says its temples will remain closed despite measures by the government to ease restrictions on religious activities. It said all ICGC local assemblies will continue to fellowship together on air and online for the General Overseer's Sunday services. Even though the churches foresee some challenges regarding the directives announced, it is hopeful that members will cooperate to ensure the threat of the spread of the virus is reduced. For Joy News, Matilda Gavi, Accra.
Now, senior high school finalists had to report to school on June 22 for 6 weeks of studies, after which they'll write their exams. The examinations will span 5 weeks after the tutoring period, Education Minister Matthew Puku-Prempeh has announced. He explained the Ghana Office of WAEC has been consulted to set the paper specific to the country, since other countries in the sub-region are tackling the pandemic and its effects uniquely. The minister also directed that there should be no assemblies, religious activities, or any mass gatherings when the schools reopen. Visitors would also not be allowed into the schools, all in a bid to prevent an outbreak in the institutions. Lessons will start at 9 a.m. and are expected to end at 1 p.m.
The government has decided that all these institutions, one, should be fumigated against the COVID before the schools reopen. And that is why we have a phased approach to opening the schools. We are starting from the tertiary and non-Ministry of Education and training institutions. The universities have provided most of these things for themselves, but those who are having problems, working through the National Council for Tertiary Education, government is going to support them with face masks and spraying of all these institutions. Also, the Ministry of Health, through the Ghana Health Service, has collaborated extensively with the Ministry of Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Information to come up with a program of sensitizing school leaders to ensure that these hygiene and sanitation and social distancing protocols are maintained in our educational facilities. That is also going to be rolled out. There is going to be a special campaign to ensure that students go back to school, especially the JSS level, that the girl child is not left behind, that we are going to make sure that the school rules are known, and those children who don't report to school, we go back and find out why they are not reporting to get them back to school. There's going to be an aggressive campaign. When schools reopen, the schools will not be available for religious activities. When schools do reopen, the schools will not be available for religious activities. And it's simple. We don't want too many interactions that can bring in and take out if we perish their thought. If it's to so happen, we can contact trace who must have brought or come to the school with this virus we have to deal with.
Well, minority spokesperson on education Peter Nochu says the government's decision to let final year JHS and SHS students return to school for a period of 3 months will put them at risk. He says the students had only about 2 weeks left on the academic calendar before schools closed and should not be made to stay any longer than that. He warns the longer they are kept in school, the greater the exposure to COVID-19.
Some of us are not happy with the long time that they are going to spend in school. Because if you look at the basic education level, you realize that they have almost finished their timetable or their syllabus, so they do not have much to do before going to school. If you look at the senior high school, the same thing. So if they should even go back to school, I think it should have been about 2-3 weeks, then they write their examination, because there's currently online programs. All although not everybody is taking advantage of it all because of where they live. Yeah, but the point is that I believe that they have almost finished their syllabuses. So just go in there for 2-3 weeks, then do some revision and write their examinations. That would have been better than giving them long period of 11 weeks, then the 12th week. That is a full term. What about if somebody has the disease? I know children aside that they like playing with each other and all those things. Yeah. So the longer they stay there, the more the danger of having to infest others with the disease. So I feel strongly that it should have been just a 2 to 3 week period of engagement with them.
And on our election headquarters, the governing NPP says it is planning to conduct political campaign electronically as a strategy to save lives and prevent the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The party is also considering similar platform and strategy to conduct voting for the party's parliamentary candidates going into the December 7 elections. Speaking with my colleague Araba Kumson on Election Brief, National Chairman of the governing NPP, Freddie Blaze, said the party is taking those steps to protect lives even as they undertake political campaigning amidst coronavirus.
We have to campaign. Every individual, I'm talking about even the parliamentarians and the aspirants from both sides or from all sides, they will do some kind of campaigning. They will do e-campaigning. They might even use posters. They will even come to your studio, like just as you are at the moment hosting me.
I'm asking this because the president yesterday indicated that although the restrictions had been eased for political activities to go ahead, rallies have still been banned. So how really are you going to go around this?
Yes. That's unfortunate, but that's we have got to live with that. Rallies will be maybe the worst way that, if you are not careful, may spread the virus. And for that matter, the president has restricted parties to some kind of other campaigning apart from rallies. It's understandable.
So how specifically are you going to go about it and adhere to the social distancing protocols?
Definitely, we are not going to undertake rallies. So the only thing that we may be doing, as I've told you, if we're going to undertake the primaries at the police, at the electoral area level, then of course we will also talk about 30, 40, or maximum 50 people coming to come and cast their votes. We will manage within that. But rallies, unfortunately, we have to avoid undertaking rallies. And that will impact quite severely on our ability to sell ideas, to sell what the president has been doing, to let people know the good things that the party.
Joining me via Zoom is a political communication expert at the University of Ghana, Dr. Asante. How feasible is this initiative the NPP plans to undertake, particularly the bit about campaigning, Dr. Asante?
Let me make a quick correction. My name is Asante.
Asante.
It is feasible that we can employ the media to be able to use to disseminate information, map up strategy, and be able to also talk to the electorate. It is very, very doable. All that the parties need to do to be able to sit down and plan their strategy, develop messages, specific message for specific group of people, and to be able to articulate them carefully and meet their audience at any point in time.
On the bit of the e-voting for parliamentary candidates, let me get your mood or gauge your mood on this. What is the margin of risk for unscrupulous candidates who may want to hijack the process and manipulate it in their favor?
Definitely, in the political field, it's a game for everybody. All that you need to be able to take your chances well. So these things are part of the strategy that they need to be able to develop strategy that somebody cannot take undue advantage you. So they should be able to work things very well so that all these problems can be addressed. But there are things that they can do to be able to promote some of these things. You need to be able to look at the channels that will give you maximum effect when you are looking at these things. Research has shown that in Ghana, most people depend on face-to-face campaign where they go to rally, where they are giving goodies and so forth and so on. Now that is also is becoming difficult to be able to arrange that. They need to have alternatives. Research has also shown that the best medium, apart from face-to-face campaign, is when you have radio. So I believe that the political parties will take advantage and develop radio messages to be able to get to the electorate and to be able to win their hearts to follow them during the elections.
Dr. Asante, before you go, I want to gauge your mood also on this one. Does this move by the NPP in any way put them ahead of the NDC?
Please, I missed the point. It was not clear. If you can take it again.
I'm making the point of the move taken by the NPP, whether it puts them ahead in any way of the NDC in the upcoming elections.
I hope you are not suggesting that the NDC will not be able to develop something like that. I'm not sure about that. NDC will be able to also have their communication strategy that will be able to garner the votes that they need to be able to restore power from the government of the day. So I'm sure all the parties have what it takes to be able to do that. All that they need to be able to do these things to have good strategy, to be able to look for effective medium, to be able to have strategy, and to be able to get to the voters, you and I, in our homes and wherever we find ourselves. They should not forget about rural voters. They should be able to develop solid messages for them, use effective means of communication to be able to get them. And once they are able to do this, everybody will fall in line.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Asante is a communication expert at the University of Ghana. Still on your election headquarters, the Ajabin Magistrate Court has fined Hajia Fati, an outspoken member of the governing NPP, a sum of 10,400 cedis for the assault on Adom FM's journalist Ohima Sichua. The accused, when the incident occurred in May 2018, at the party's headquarters, said she assaulted the reporter for taking a photograph of her. Hajia Fati later stated she took the reporter for an onion seller because she failed to introduce herself as a journalist before taking the photograph. The court, presided over by Isaac Addo on Monday, June 1, after passing the judgment, cautioned that failure by Hajia Fati to pay the fine shall result in her incarceration for 20 months. Samson Ladianyenene is the counsel for the Adom reporter. He joins me via Zoom. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time, Samson. Does this fine settle or put the matter to rest?
The court has come to the end of the case and has given its judgment. So by virtue of the judgment having been rendered, the criminal case has also come to a close. If you would recall, the criminal case was delaying, and because it was taking too long and delaying, Multimedia decided to take a civil action. So Hajia Fati was sued in the civil court, civil way in the Human Rights Court, and that was determined long before this one, in which the court fined her or awarded damages of 10,000 cedis against Hajia Fati. In respect of that case, though, she has put up an appeal, even though since filing the appeal, her lawyers have filed about 3 different other processes, and 2 of them have all been dismissed by the court. There is 1 more pending at the Court of Appeal. We are hoping that they will attend. But the criminal one is actually prosecuted by the state on behalf of the victim. And this is when it came to an end. And so it was a question of assault, and she was found guilty of the assault. And instead of a custodial sentence, as in sending her to prison, the court and the law allows the judge to award a fine. And the fine was awarded for her to pay. If she was unable to pay, then she would have gone to jail.
Samson, you're a journalist and a lawyer as well. Considering there have been quite a few of these assaults on journalists, and also considering the fact that we're getting closer to elections where assaults on journalists are rife, would you say this is deterrent enough?
It certainly is not deterrent enough. In the civil matter, for example, where we had hopes and expectations that the damages that would have been awarded together with the cost would have been hefty enough to deter the, abrasive and quite criminal actions by the woman. But while the judge took time to lambast Hajia Fati and caution all other members of the public against trying to hurt journalists, it took the view that this was she could only award what was a total of 10,000. And then we come to the criminal matter, where some would have expected also that she would have been put to jail, because that's where the option of jail was available. And the court's decision in the end was that it should be a fine. I will agree with anybody who says the fines are not hefty enough. But again, when the courts are awarding fines, there are certain things that they look at. What has been your demeanor? What have been the extenuating or aggravating circumstances? If you have made pleas to mitigate your sins, you can receive forgiveness in the courtroom, even though the court is not a messy chamber. So all of these things are taken into consideration, but particularly with Hajia Fati in the criminal case, she and her lawyers did everything to frustrate the process. At the point, the judge had to issue a warrant for her arrest so that she could appear in court just so the judgment would be read. Her lawyers took very dangerous, oppositions against the judge and the way the judge was conducting the case, even though the judge was very, measured. His demeanor was always good, and he was not out there to let Hajia Fati sort of know where power lies. It's for some of us, it's actually surprised that in the end, he didn't insist that she would go to jail or the fines were not heavy. They had actually petitioned the Chief Justice against the judge. The Chief Justice threw their petition away. They filed an application saying that the judge, would be biased. Of course, all that applications, they lost them. We went to court to fight most of these applications, and all of them appeared to be frivolous without any basis. So the conduct of Hajia Fati herself in the process, it was the expectation of some that she will receive a hefty fine or jail terms. But I think the judge has been very lenient with her. But you would realize also that the judge spoke about the fact that she's old. If you have met her, she's quite old, except that, she continues to engage in things that draw attention and gives the world a view of her that's quite bad.
I'm grateful for your time. Samson Lade Anyenene is the Counsel for Multimedia Group Limited. Okay, I want you to stay on because in court also today, an Accra High Court has asked for a hearing notice to be issued by lawyers for Latif Idris, a multimedia journalist, and a multimedia group for the 22nd day of July 2020 at 1 p.m. to determine the progress of the case involving the complainant and the IGP. Now, Latif Idris was on March 27, 2018, assaulted by policemen while covering a political demonstration at the CID headquarters. That assault has since left the journalist with a fractured skull and other medical complications. Counsel for Latif Idris and Multimedia, Samson Ladianyenene, is still on Zoom with me. Now, Samson, what appears to be holding up the case as we speak?
Right. So in the Latif case, which is a very, very serious matter, because of the damage that Latif has suffered as a result of the unconstitutional and illegal brutality and battery that was meted to him, the assault that he encountered. When the case was filed, it took the Attorney General, which is supposed to represent the police, it took them quite a while to be able to file their defense. And normally in our courts, they normally would entertain the states quite a bit when they are not pulling their weight. If it's against any ordinary institution or person, they may be quick to throw them out. But when it has to do with the state and the Attorney General's department and the police, sometimes the judges are a bit, hesitant because they seem to know the difficulties that they encounter. So that is how come it delayed initially a bit. Then eventually they put in their defense and sought to suggest, sing the same tune that the police seem to have been singing at the start, that, you can't identify the people, yes, even though he suffered whatever he suffered on their premises, you can't clearly identify the people, and so on and so forth. So we put in an application to the court for the court to compel them to supply us with their CCTV footage on the fateful day, on that particular occasion, and to supply us the list of the officers, the police officers who were also on duty on that day. And on the 6th of February 2020, this year, the court granted that prayer and compelled the police, that's the IGP, to produce the CCTV footage and also the list of police officers who were on duty on that day. This is what has taken them all this while to do. And so when we were in court, the decision eventually was that they should be giving a little time, hopefully that they will supply it by the next time we get to court. So that's where we are, and we are only hoping that they will supply those pieces of evidence without tampering with them, so that we can continue from that point on.
Court, or you appeared before the court, a lot happened. I'd like you to share with us what transpired on Monday and what this means for the case going forward.
Right, so like I said, where we are presently is that the police have been compelled by the courts to supply the CCTV footage for that day so that we will be able to review for purposes of, facilitating a forward move of the case. Because their claim all along has been that the thing may have happened on our compound, but we can't identify who it is that did it. That's the point. There is no argument that Latif was brutalized. There is no argument that there is evidence from the physicians so far that he has been hurt in a very substantial way, but for the grace of God, we may not see him do the things he's doing now, even though from what I know from the medical standpoint, what I have read about what the doctors have said about him, sometimes I'm surprised myself that he's able to do the things that he continues to do. And so once they supply it, we are hopeful that it will become very clear. Once it is supplied and it's not tampered with, it will become very clear who did the dastardly act, that cowardly, conduct, very unlawful and constitutional conduct. And then also, once we have the list, they supply the list as the court is compelling them to do, it will assist us. Then the case can now begin to move into the stage where the trial, so to speak, will start.
I'm extremely grateful for your time. Samson Lade Anyanene is counsel for Latif Idris, a multimedia journalist, and also counsel for the multimedia group. Still to come in this bulletin, PNC Chairman Bernard Mona says he is unperturbed by the charges leveled against him after his interrogation at the police CID.
The Electoral Commission of Ghana must know that their actions have the potential to plunge this nation into calamity.
The business segment comes up shortly after this break. Time now for business. Sandra Fene is here with the very latest. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sha. You know what it's about egg. Yes, in this COVID time, you need to eat egg to boost the immune system.
I've taken an egg today.
Unfortunately, we have a lot of egg out there, but people are not buying.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
It's good to control COVID-19. So
exactly.
Why are people not buying?
We do that in business. Celebrating 25 years of joy. My name is Sandra Esinamapeno. As always, I'm here for business. The Ghana Poultry Farmers Association says the current egg glut is throwing many farmers out of business. Out of the 778 million birds in the country, more than 80% produce eggs. Farmers have set up a central system to slash prices for government and individuals who want them in large quantities. Odilia and Samuel's report.
The Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association, taking its turn, said the glut is pushing its members out of business. They are worried loans are also going bad as close to 1 million eggs sit in the markets. Currently, there are only 2 egg processors who can process less than 300 crates a day.
For the poultry farmer who has no support, finances himself or herself, and sorry to say, he's also not, or she's not an NGO. He or she is into the business for profit. And the eggs that have been produced and are sitting. They are not being consumed. Meanwhile, the eggs that we have are good, they are healthy, they can help us boost our immune system.
Women in the value chain are the most affected as several crates of eggs sit in the major markets unpaid.
In the midst of this COVID-19, it is these women who are losing most. We listen to some of the women who are saying that, well, people come to buy, and because they don't want to leave these eggs to get rotten, they give it out on credit. The people leave and they cannot find them again. And now their businesses are completely down.
The Ghana National Poultry Farmers Association is worried the problems cut deeper than an egg glut.
Now, what is happening now? You have produced the eggs, you can't find the market. Even when you are being compelled to reduce prices, the eggs remain in your stores. We have been in the industry for over 20 years, but never has it ever happened.
Ghana Poultry Project, together with the Farmers Association, could be contacted for the eggs at a subsidized cost.
As the global economy heads into a recession as a result of COVID-19, one grave concern for millions of households has been the impact this will have on food security, especially in Ghana and across Africa. The Food and Agriculture Organization has been preferring answers to the issue, calling on governments to build resilience. Charles Aite has more in this report.
Abebe Gabriel is the Food and Agriculture Organization's regional representative for Africa. He is warning Ghana and the rest of Africa of a blackout in food security if governments do not build the needed structures to ensure food supply chains are not disrupted by the effects of the coronavirus.
When we're talking about resilience, it's not just a conceptual matter. It's really about making our systems to be able to absorb the shocks.
Already, there has been a national debate over the cost of foodstuff at various market centers amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Everything is expensive now, everything. Even plantain. Plantain 3 is 20 Ghana.
First, we could go to Accra with 600 cedis, but now we go with maybe 1,200 or 1,300 to buy the same things we used to buy at the first.
Usually, if I have to spend like maybe 100 cedis for a month foodstuff, now I'm spending like 150 or 200 cedis.
But the Agric Minister Owusu Akoto insists food security and prices in Ghana are the best.
Only 4 years ago, a bunch of plantain in Accra, you have to spend 40 Ghana cedis. Now 3, 4 cedis. And I repeat, 3, 4, 5 cedis. You can get a bunch of plantain.
On a virtual interaction via Zoom, I asked Abebe Gabriel of the Food and Agriculture Organization's direction for the government of Ghana and Africa as a whole in times as this.
So food price inflationary pressure ensures sustained food supply, and FAO is supporting the efforts to ensure sustained production, trade, food safety and nutrition.
Of the 135 million people globally who are estimated to be experiencing crisis levels of acute food insecurity, more than half live in Africa. Across various market centers here in the Greater Accra region, food is abundant, but one main concern has been the prices of most of these products. Consumers are very concerned. They're saying that amidst COVID-19, the cost of food prices could really have a toll on not just their spending patterns, but as well the livelihoods of the various friends and families who earn little to nothing in these times.
Let's do more stories now. And government will order about 35 trains to aid rail transport in the country. Details plus more coming up in the Business News Summary.
The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, has said the June 1, 2020 pump price increases could have been prevented had the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, BOST, delivered on its mandate. Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amoah, said Monday that although the gradual ease in coronavirus restrictions across the globe is hiking demand, which is pushing the price of the product up, BOST and the state could have shielded consumers from the recent price increase. The Minister of Railway Development, Joe Gatti, has revealed that the ministry will be ordering over 30 standard gauge trains in June this year. According to him, the ministry has already gotten approval of about $130 million of trains, which will be purchased from a company in China. Speaking on the Iron Ports program, Joe Gatti stated that the technical committee of the ministry is engaging their counterparts in China.
Thanks for watching, and that's all for now. I'm back after 8 p.m. with more business news updates.
Time now for showbiz.
Yes,
Becky is here with the very latest.
Yes, Aisha, today is Blackout Tuesday. That's because a lot of people are joining in to, kick against racism. Our Ghanaian celebrities have also joined in. So today, it's happening today. Today, if you use Instagram or Twitter, you may have noticed several photos of black squares appearing on your feed. Yes, the posts are part of the Blackout Tuesday event and are intended to highlight racial injustice and give attention to black voices that might otherwise not be heard. So basically, that's what has been happening today. Our very own musician, talking about Mensa of FOKM Boys, has also joined in this campaign, and here's a message from Mensa.
I'm tired of being controversial because I advocate for basic human rights. It's not challenging. I'm not amused. I'm tired of people thinking that Africans are always happy and all we need is just a little bit to smile, and that music is only good for enjoyment. I'm tired of the constant disregard of black people outside of Africa every day. But let's be real, sometimes it's even worse in our own African countries.
Aisha, you know, Sami Jemfi, he tweeted something today, and Sarkodie actually told him that this is, you know, you can't do that. That's the tweet. And
I've seen
so
this.
Sarkodie says,
I have eased. I mean, that the whole thing says, well, my
for
brother, we all go wrong sometimes. I'll believe your intention was to joke with this serious and sensitive issue, but you still are wrong. Just do what's right.
So it's because of the I can't breathe factor. So Sarkodie is asking Sami Jemfi to pull that down. I'm not sure he did, but well, that's just basically it. But Aisha, we've also been celebrating a legend for 45 years here in the music industry. Amachi Dede has been, you know, a phenomenal, and we are celebrating.
The Iron Boy,
I tell you. So we are celebrating Amachi Dede right here.
And that'll be it for Showbiz. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing us Showbiz. And for those of you watching on Joy Prime, that'll be it. The news continues on Joy News.
After hours of interrogation at the police CID, the national chairman of the People's National Convention, Bernard Mona, was on Tuesday charged for breaching the peace. Mr. Mona, who is also a leading member of the Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Register, is facing criminal prosecution for allegedly threatening to disrupt the scheduled mass registration exercise. Kwesi Parker-Wilson reports the PNC chair showed up at the police CID with an army of sympathizers.
Hundreds of supporters of the Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Voters Register had massed up demanding the release of Bernard Mona, who had been invited by the CID to answer questions on alleged threats against the Electoral Commission. In fact, the supporters massed up at Akwaje Park with Bernard Mona, moved all the way from Akwaje Park here to the CID headquarters. Now, just before they got to the headquarters, the police had arranged and deployed over 30 armed men.
So this is what is happening here at the CID, the headquarters. The police are they're currently forming a wall, a human wall, to prevent them from having access to the CID headquarters.
Bernard Mona indicated that the move by the police was to intimidate them.
We will not engage the police in their attempt to brutalize us. We are law-abiding citizens. We want peace for our nation. Electoral Commission is slipping our nation into disaster. And we are protesting, and you are coming to beat us.
It was a bit of confusion and chaos when the supporters still wanted to push their way through. The Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Peter Boma Otukono, managed to calm them and ask them to comply with the police directives.
It's raining and the police are in the rain. Also, some of the supporters of the Inter-Party Against the New Voters Register are also in the rain and still demanding that they gain access to the CID headquarters. So that's the situation. It's raining. In fact, the media, the police, all drenched in the rain.
After an hour or two, we saw members of parliament, and I should say NDC members of parliament, who drove in to solidarize with the national chairman, who has been invited by the police.
Look, the policemen here in the rain with us are not all MPP people, no. They are Ghanaians. They are Ghanaians and they know the right thing. They know that tomorrow they will not be in uniform.
So you're going to be here until Mr. Mona is released?
We are waiting for Mr. Mona to be released. They should give us our brother. He will tell them what they want to hear, and they should release him for us.
So Bernard is the rings and then wait for Bernard Mona.
Master, we are not made of salt. We are made of flesh and blood. The rain doesn't do anything to us.
That's it.
Rain or shine, we'll be here.
You should be in Parliament at this moment.
Yes.
I mean, doing what is required of you as a lawmaker. But you have defied the rains and you are here. Why?
Do you know how I got to Parliament? I got to Parliament on the backs of the people. On the backs of these people who are here in the rain.
And that is why you have to be there and serve their interests.
The government said that you must have head before you can chew corn. Okay? If the people are not there, the people's right to register and to vote is taken away. Who will vote for you?
if my constituents lose the right to go and register and vote, who is going to vote for me? So the people must first have their inalienable right to register to vote, for that to be guaranteed for me to be in parliament. So I cannot be sitting in parliament when they are taking away those rights. I have to come out in the street in the rain and fight with them. And I'm telling you that we shall resist to the last drop of our blood any attempt to take this register away.
Bernard Mona spent about 3 hours being interrogated by the CID. When he came out, his words were simple.
I have just gone through a cordial process with the police. My statement is, and I quote, that I made the statements that are contained in the 37 seconds video that they showed to me. And that I stand by those statements and I had nothing more to add. I promised you that whatever I said that occasioned the invitation, I stand by it. The Electoral Commission of Ghana must know that their actions have the potential to plunge this nation into calamity. We are cautioning them that if they do not heed to us and anything happens to this country, they will not be safe. It is important that the police, some of who are here, who are desiring for change, that they must wake up to the reality that anything that the Electoral Commission does that plunges this nation into calamity, there the police will also be affected.
Speaking to the media, the police are still waiting to ensure that the crowd disperses. Now that the demand has been met, that they wanted the PNC Chairman to be released, and he has been released. The police is just waiting patiently to ensure that the crowd disperses, so that at least they can restore, they can go back to their normal duties.
Meanwhile, the police say they have commenced investigations and that Mr. Mona will be prosecuted if need be.
Indeed, the national chairman for the PNC party, as you know, was invited to report to CID today. He has come. He came this morning. We've spoken to him. He has not been charged, but he's been cautioned. He's been cautioned with Section 207 of the Criminal Offences Code Act and Other Offences Act. He's supposed to be reporting every other week to the CID headquarters here. Or if for any reason he is not able to come, he communicates with us, and we permit him to report to any regional command where he will find himself at that moment. His bail condition is with a surety in the sum of 20,000 Ghana cedis.
So what was the caution again? What was the caution?
Section 207 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, which says offensive conduct conducive to the breaches of the peace. Investigation still continues. At the appropriate time, when investigation is able to direct that we go for prosecution, yes, we would go for prosecution.
The police is not sure whether it's something that you want to prosecute?
To say that police is not sure, I do not want to badge to that. We can only say that investigations have just started. And so, like I said, if at the appropriate time the police finds it necessary to go to court, yes, the docket will be taken for advice and we would go to court for prosecution.
Now, in spite of mounting opposition into its plans to compile a new voters register, the Electoral Commission has started pilot registration in parts of the country. The strongest indication yet that it would not back down on its plan to compile a new voters roll for the elections this December. At the Electoral Commission's offices at Asante, Mahia and Accra, officials tell Joy News they have been ensuring strict adherence to social distancing protocols to guarantee the safety of the electorate. Maxwell Agbagwa has more in this report.
Let's get here. Okay. We have the Veronica bucket here. So the moment you come, you wash your hands and then you dry it with a tissue before you come and then join the queue. We know the markings we have made. There will be it's 1 meter apart.
Oh, okay.
You'll be 1 meter apart.
Okay, so this is your mark. The next person will be here.
So
okay.
Follow up to the table where you will do the registration.
Okay.
So that you'll not be close to, yes.
Okay.
And then when you get there too, there's a sanitizer there too, and then you use it before they start putting your detail. No, before then, the thermometer gun is there. It will be pointed and then take your temperature. If your temperature is above the normal one, then we have a place where we will keep you, and then we inform the health authorities to come and handle you. But if your temperature is okay, then before you move on to the process.
Okay. This is beautiful, social distancing, voters registration exercise. But how sure are you that these directives, when you deploy to the various polling stations where sometimes supervision will become difficult, these protocols will be adhered to?
The staff that have been engaged, definitely there will be 1 or 2 who will be free at a point in time to ensure that these protocols are fully observed. Because you have 2 registration officers. When one is attending to the applicant on the table, the one can also go and check whether these things are being observed. Yes.
So we have your word that your staff and then the general, public who come will be safe?
Sure. We want to ensure that we all observe it because health is important. And Electoral Commission is a law-abiding institution, so we also ensure that people observe it. If we don't observe it, it will be difficult for us to serve you, and we expect the members of the public to cooperate and support EC so that together we can have a successful exercise.
Okay. Finally, what is the purpose of the pilot, exercise? What opportunity does it give?
The piloting is for us to test the equipment we are going to use, and then also the readiness of the official that we have trained. So we are going to demonstrate what is going to pan out on the registration period today and tomorrow.
Okay. You are here to take part in the pilot exercise. What do you make of the voter registration exercise? What do you make of assertions out there that we are in coronavirus times? This one can wait.
I personally don't have a problem with it because if the institution is guaranteeing social distancing and then the necessary equipment for the process to go on, why not?
Okay. So you don't agree with assertions that we should use the old voters register?
Anyway, that's their view, so they are entitled to their views. But for me, I have no problem.
Would you be voting in December?
Sure, I'll vote.
Okay. You risk it to vote in December, or you are sure that with the protocol put in place, it's safe to do?
If the safety protocols are there and we are told they will follow it, I'll go ahead and then vote.
The Ghana Maritime Authority has intensified safety protocols for passengers on boats crossing the Volta Lake to prevent frequent loss of lives. Director General Thomas Alonsi tells Roland Walker the authority has increased its efforts at also removing 3 stumps along the lake to prevent these boats from capsizing. More than 7 people died in a boat tragedy last week following what the Ghana Maritime Authority believes is a result of constant overloading of boats used to transport passengers in communities across the Volta Lake.
We thought that it was our mandate to ensure that we look at the causes of these accidents. And one of the causes of the accidents on the lake has been tree stumps. These boats run into these stumps and get capsized. And the result is the needless loss of lives. So we thought that if these tree stumps could be removed, then a major cause of inland waterway accidents would have been uprooted, would have been taken out completely. And then we have since embarked upon a number of projects in various communities along the Volta Lake to ensure that this objective is achieved.
One of the critical things that prompted us to come here was because just the last couple of days ago, we had about 7 people losing their lives along the water in Germany, especially in the Volta region. And we've been thinking, is it that you have a program of action to be removing these trees, and how do you do it?
Yes, we, as an authority charged with ensuring that there's safety on our inland waterways, we normally would work with the communities. So for all the projects that we have executed so far, places like Dambai, Tudodokopi, Yeji Makango, Yeji Aujakopi, Tumpanja, Kodokopi, Dambai, Njari. All these places, the opinion leaders, mostly the chiefs, the opinion leaders of the place, would make a case to the Ghana Maritime Authority in writing, indicating that this or that is a problem there. Then together, we put our heads together, we agree with them on the routes that they would want us to clear. And then we now go in and help them to remove those trees. And so yes, there's, to a very large extent, community involvement as far as the decision as to which area or which routes to clear are concerned. We have to normally do this with the consent of the chiefs and the opinion leaders of the communities. So for all the ones that we have done, yes, that's what we have done. We have always consulted the opinion leaders of the place and worked with them.
Thomas Kofi Alonso is Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority. The full interview will air on the AM show tomorrow morning. The show will start at 6 a.m. And in other news, it is fairly common to see the blinding blue and red lights of police cars on the streets and in neighborhoods in many towns, especially at night. They are often there to ward off criminals and give comfort to residents. But what happens to criminal activities on the sea at night? Western Regional Correspondent Inathalia Kwansa joined the night patrol team of the Ghana Maritime Authority and the Marine Police. She came through with this report.
The journey to the high seas started at about 6 p.m. The sun was almost set, the remaining sun rays shining on the glistening faces of sweaty men busily putting the many varied parts of this operation together. This is a routine for them, and each of them seems to know what they are about. A boat owned by the Ghana Maritime Authority and named after the Western Region politician renowned as the father of Gold Coast politics, Pa Grant, is humming gently on the waters. Tonight, the head of the Ghana Maritime Authority in Takoradi, Captain William Thompson, and that of the Marine Police, DCOP Idi Seidu, have joined the patrol.
On board the vessel MV Pa Grant, it's a Ghana Maritime Authority vessel. It's a multi-purpose vessel. Behind me, you can see is a boom that we use for oil spill emergencies. At the same time, we use this boat as a patrol boat. It goes out to sea to patrol our anchorages to keep ships safe, keep the port safe. This evening, we're just taking you around one of our typical night patrols. It's actually an all-night patrol.
A head count is taken as part of the regimen. 4 armed men got on board and we set sail. The GMA, the Navy, and Marine Police embark on this journey every night to arrest fuel smugglers and ensure the Takoradi port retain its enviable reputation as a safe port conducive for commerce.
We have many times had reports of petty thievery, people going up the vessels, stealing paint and that kind of thing. What this does is that it taints the image of the port. That is one, and then 2, the port eventually gets classified as a non-safe port.
At Anchorage, where many ships dock, the Pa Grant stopped. The armed men got off into the smaller, faster speedboat of the GMA, Private Odate Lamte, which takes off in search of smugglers and criminals. Captain Darlington Akofi of GMA, the team leader, backed some instructions.
What is happening now is this is the smaller boat that usually goes around to check whatever is happening on the ground before they come back to report. They usually go out with an instruction that yes, before they go, they have to go out to where these small canoes that they call dendes are, and count each and every one of them. Then they proceed to the anchorage, turn around the whole anchorage and look at what is happening, and come back to report to the mother vessel, which is Park Grant.
Private Odate pulls away, leaving in its wake a beautiful splatter of waters. And yes, it has blue lights flashing as it speeds off. In Athalia Kwanzaa, Joy News, Takoradi.
Now, 2 siblings who recovered from COVID-19 have launched a campaign against stigmatization. Dorcas and Elizabeth Owusu contracted the virus in the line of duty as frontline health workers. The psychologist and her nursing officer sister at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital say their decision to become ambassadors is informed by widespread discrimination against recovered patients. Ohimenteri of our health desk has filed the following report.
Many patients who have recovered from COVID-19 continue to suffer stigmatization from the public in Ghana. Some are even virtually ostracized and banished from their communities and place of work. Dorcas, a psychologist and nursing officer, Elizabeth, are among about 20 health workers who tested positive for coronavirus at Kath.
The first time I was told, I took it normal. I was okay. Yeah, I wasn't scared. What came into mind was that, okay, people have gone through it and have survived. Though lots of people have been dying globally, but many of them have been through it successfully. So that one didn't really make me scared.
It all started, I went to work one Sunday afternoon. And after work, I came home, started feeling some headaches. It was getting severe in the night. So I did malaria test and it came out negative. But the next day it was still there and I wasn't taking it easy. So I started checking my temperature. That Tuesday morning I checked, it was 37.5. And in the morning I went there. They did the test and they called me the next day and told me that it was positive. I just took it out, I was fine.
Ghana Health Service says stigmatization of COVID-19 patients remains a challenge. Dorcas, an expectant mother, and her sister are encouraged by their scary situation to fight for all victims who are being despised by society. They have, in one way or the other, had a fair share of the negative attitude, even from colleagues at work.
I heard a whole lot of news about those gossiping, stigmatizing and all that. Those who were stigmatizing, I learned some of them even tested positive also. Some were thinking, hey, where did she get this condition from? Others were saying a whole lot of things about me. Hey, is it because she's like this or that? Because we haven't gotten any case, we've not seen any patients with this kind of condition, so how come? But they did also think that you can come in contact with a patient without any symptoms and you can contract it. So I think that's how it happened, but they didn't understand. Most of them even thought that I brought the condition to the directorate.
Dorcas and Elizabeth are aware of the challenge ahead of them, but they are determined to make a positive impact. With support from relatives, they are reaching out to as many Ghanaians as possible to change the mindset about coronavirus.
I was also thinking of how my colleagues at the workplace will take it, but later I said,
right, and that'll be it for the bulletin for tonight. And so from me, this is Well. I have a good night.
And my name is Asante Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of our programs. And the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, on Sunday visited new Tasker fishing community in the Sujaman constituency for a community engagement program. John Mahama interacted with households in the community, seizing the opportunity to educate them on how to stay safe and protect their families from the coronavirus. He also presented some relief items, including hand sanitizers, face masks, and food packages to the people. The NDC leader also spent hours with fishermen in the community discussing their challenges and expectations. The fishermen and fishmongers mentioned securing outboard motors, the partisan supply of premixed fuel, the need for a London beach, and the lack of support of aquaculture in the area as some of their challenges. John Mahama Community Engagement Program is up next.